Hey everyone, Bill Hood here with the VLocity Group in the trucking, and I'm here at GATS in 2018 in Dallas, and I've been shooting off videos talking about some of the things that I've learned, but today I want to talk a little bit about the hours of service comment period that's coming up and some of the observations I've had over the past years about how the trucking industry, more specifically independent owner operators and small carriers, have hurt themselves, and during this comment period, what we need to do to make sure that we are taken seriously when we're talking to the FMCSA or we're putting comments out there. So I got 3 points here that I think if people understand and stay on point with, that they'll really, they'll have a much bigger impact than what we've been seeing with a lot of stuff that's going on. So the first thing is focus. And the best example I can give here is I've talked to at least 10 people that I know that are going to Washington, D.C. And the question I asked them, I said, what are you going there for? What do you hope to accomplish? 9 out of the 10 had at least 3. The 10th had like 2 pages of demands, as he put them. But all but one of those 10, the number one topic was hours of service. The person that was, the other person that didn't put number 1, put that at number 2. So all 10 had hours of service. Of the other 3 or more topics, not a single topic did you have 5 people of those 10 agreeing. So less than 50% of any of the rest of the topics fell below. I had one person that said he was going there for hours of service, better truck parking, and detention. Had somebody else who was hours of service, was looking for road conditions, and to put a stop to paid parking. Now, the opposition is very, very focused. Do not underestimate them. They're very focused. They have one message. Often they're bringing one person in to deliver that message repeatedly, and they continue to bring that message in. And when they need to bring other people in, they coordinate that, they make sure everybody is on point, and they do not go off that one topic. Unfortunately, a lot what's happening now is so many of us are coming at it from so many different directions that we're not able to get focused in on one subject, and the FMCSA is not opening up comments on hours of service and anything else you're interested in. They want hours of service comments and what you have to say. So that's the first point. Stay focused, stay on point. So the second thing is be real. What I mean by this is absolutely everybody is real with their passion out there. We see it out there in spades, right? But what I'm talking about is be real, and I like to use examples here. So I saw a post on Facebook where there was a traffic jam. They're saying a flatbedder had rolled over caused by racing his 14-hour clock, okay? So as you start to push into this, you find out that this person had relayed this information based on what he heard on the CB. Now it gets worse than that. The next day I saw a quasi-news type of post is deadly ELDs caused another major crash. And it goes on to talk about this, which nobody died in, but it goes on to talk about this crash and how the driver was racing the times and how so many drivers are now causing more accidents because they're racing their time. I have asked, I can't count how many times I've asked when people say that is, would you please show me the data that supports that? Okay, it may be true, but I have yet to see any data that supports it other than drivers saying, I'm out here on the road, I see it every day. I'm sorry, you know what? I wanted to buy a white SUV, and I saw white SUVs for the next 3 weeks every place I went. So you're going to see, hey, I think we're back here. Hopefully this looks like it's here. Sorry, you know, this is technology, we're working off Wi-Fi and bad coverage, but people are coming up with stuff and they don't have data. So when you're making comments to the FMCSA, if you say something like, since we implemented ELDs with the current hours of service regulations, the roads have become more deadly. If you're going to say that, cite your source. If you have no source, do not say it. Secondly, if you see somebody giving you information that you think is credible, make sure you ask them for their source. Don't just repeat something that you hear. Make sure you ask them for their source. Because I'll tell you what, the opposition is coming in with data. Whether you agree with the data or not, they're coming in with information that they can bring to the FMCSA, and they're saying, here, let us show you these studies that we conducted or that we found that support our position. So that's number two. Make sure you have the data to support what you're saying. Now, the third point is use the accepted data. You don't necessarily have to always agree with the accepted data, but if the FMCSA is citing data and citing studies, then that is something that they obviously are saying has some credibility in their minds. So use that. If you're looking for data, use that. You know, when I was driving, I could go to sleep at 6 p.m., get up at 2 a.m., be refreshed, great night's sleep, didn't get woken up at all, just ready to go. So it didn't matter how rested I was. Circadian rhythms are a real thing, and this is not something that's in question scientifically. And about a half an hour, 45 minutes before sunrise, I would just get absolutely tired. I couldn't keep my eyes open. And so I knew when I always did my trip plans that I would have to take about a 15 to 20 minutes. And it didn't matter much. I just got back. I wouldn't necessarily fall asleep. If I got back, I laid down in the bunk for a little bit, closed my eyes for a little bit, and then got back up, took a walk around the tractor and trailer, and got back in. I was good to go. I could probably, drive for 10 hours after that with very little fatigue that I felt. So it's something like that, to make a comment saying, with the hours of service, I feel like I'm losing stuff because if I run these particular hours, I don't have flexibility when I'm starting to feel tired to take a break. So when I do take a break, don't tell them that you push through, but when I do take a break, what I'm doing is I'm losing productivity because I'm being safe. And I know there are probably a lot of other drivers out there that aren't as responsible. So that's a third piece there as far as make sure you're using accepted data and apply that to yourself. There's the bigger overreaching piece, which I hear a lot of people talking about. It's like, well, that doesn't apply to me. So like the circadian rhythms, maybe you don't get tired. Maybe that doesn't impact you. That's fine. I'm not saying that's the case, but recognize the FMCSA has to regulate based on the average person, not based on you or what you say. Two problems with that. Number one is they have to, how do they control that? Number two is we have a terrible track record here in the trucking industry of being responsible, drivers being responsible for themselves to do things. And it's the reason we're seeing hours of service, the reason ELDs have come into play. So thank you for listening. Remember, stay focused, be real with the information you're using. And if you're going to give an example and you want to use their data on there. Thank you. Love to see your comments. Make sure you subscribe, you hit the bell. I'm also, after this gets posted, I'm going to put a link to where you can make comments to the FMCSA. Hope to see some great things and hope to see some of you in Washington, D.C. Thanks a lot.